Good morning, gang. Happy Wednesday morning. We are 61 days away from Donald Trump's inauguration, if we make it. The tensions in Russia, or the tensions with Russia, I guess, between the Western political leaders and Russia keep getting ratcheted up day in and day out. Joe Biden, the entire puppet show at NATO, have continued to ratchet up the rhetoric, hell-bent on getting us into World War III. They know the end is near for globalism. What all these leaders, including Joe Biden, do not understand is the population of the countries in which they so lead do not support what their government is doing. You can ask most people in the United States, yeah, there's a few whack jobs out there, that we do not approve of going to war against Russia. You can ask most of the civilian population in all of Europe, and they do not support going to war against Russia. But for some godforsaken reason, these politicians think that that's what is best for everybody to do. Okay. To give you an idea of how idiotic the leaders of state are, okay, you had the NATO chief, okay, Mark Rutte. He's Scandinavian, Danish, I believe. Okay. Warned on Tuesday that Putin must not be allowed to prevail in the war. Okay. His quote, why don't you listen? "Why is this so crucial that Putin will not get his way? Because you will have an emboldened Russia on our border. I'm absolutely convinced it will not stop there." Mr. Rutte, let me explain something to you. If you allow Ukraine to join NATO, okay, just signing a document, not a bullet flies, right? Guess what? We have Russia on our border, okay? You're trying to push the border to Russian territory. So don't give me your lip service here on how afraid we are of having a border with Russia. You want to do that, whether the border is at the eastern end of Ukraine or the western end of Ukraine. It doesn't really matter, okay? There is no buffer. If you think Russia is taking all of this lightly, you're very mistaken, okay? You guys know that Joe Biden authorized the use of long-range missiles to be used against Russia. There's a problem with this, and this is basically, as we talked about on the last live stream last night, this is war crimes committed by the United States. This is a declaration of war against Russia by the U.S. and or NATO. Why do I say that? The programming of these long-range missiles, obviously they are satellite guided, okay, can only be done by the United States or potentially some NATO troops. Okay? We do not give the launch codes, if you will, to Ukraine. So basically what it is we're giving Ukraine the missiles. They tell us what they want to hit, and we're the ones that program the guidance system and push the button to attack Russia. That is a declaration of war. And last I checked, the U.S. Congress, which is the constitutional overseer of declaring war, has not declared war on Russia. So therefore, we, the United States, or more correctly put, the corrupt criminal Biden administration, has committed or violated international law. Yeah. Okay. Biden has declared war on Russia by himself. Ain't that convenient? We have a demented potato who gets lost walking off an airplane to his car or gets lost in the British rainforest, was such a wonderful candidate in the recent election that they pulled him off the ticket in July because the man wasn't mentally competent to run for president. But yet we are still allowing him to run the country and potentially start World War III. I'm not speaking in hyperbole. Russia's taking this seriously. I want you to watch this real quick. We checked the translation. Mrs. P listened to it. It is correct.
Несложно предположить географию ответа в случае, если короткий пресс-релиз Белого дома станет реальностью. Под угрозой без малого все европейские столицы, если наши ракеты встанут в Калининграде, Берлин, Варшава, все Прибалты, Париж, Бухарест, Прага. Конечно, американские базы в Германии, Гармии-Шпартенкирхен, казармы Патча, Шпангдалем, Рамштайн. Особое внимание Британии, нашему традиционному врагу, так как против нее будет работать значительная часть Северного флота. Под удар Вашингтон ставит не только Лондон, но и Манчестер, Бирмингем, крупнейшую военно-морскую базу Девонпорт, Клайд в Шотландии, где король хранит ядерные ракеты «Трайдент», Портсмут и Чатамскую верфь в графстве Кент. Британия в самом уязвимом положении. В принципе, достаточно 3 ракет, и эта цивилизация рухнет.
Now, that's obviously coming from the Russian press corps. And in there, as you can see, they are talking about missile silos in Kaliningrad, feasibly targeting all of Western Europe. Then they are talking about the nuclear subfleet based out of Vladivostok, feasibly targeting Great Britain. Okay. Now, the interesting part, as Mrs. P mentioned last night in the live stream, Russia's putting out 2 different press releases. This one going to the West, saying, you pull any sneaky stuff, and we are going to retaliate. We all know that Putin just the other day lowered the bar for Russia to be able to use nuclear weapons. Okay. So this, I'll use the term threat to the Western nations to cool their jets, is what we heard. The other press release that Russia is putting out to their allies, so be it China, be it Iran, be it whomever, okay, North Korea, if you will, they are assuring their allies that they will not be using nuclear weapons. Okay. You got to listen to both sides. I'm still of the belief that Putin is not as crazy as our government makes him out to be, that he would use nuclear weapons. I could be wrong. I was wrong about him going into Ukraine in the first place, so don't take me as any sort of person who's got a red phone to the Kremlin or something here. I just think that Putin knows that if he pulls any stunt like that, the entire world is his enemy all at once, that he would be the one who started World War III. They wouldn't look at long-range missiles, they'd look at who pushed the red button first. Okay. Does that mean he won't do it? No. Okay. Why do I say this? Well, could Putin possibly be planning on going nuclear? Watch this real quick.
These bomb shelters are designed to protect against radiation and natural disasters, and they're now being mass-produced in Russia, the country's Emergency Ministry Research Institute has said. The announcement, coming as US President Joe Biden's administration agreed to allow Ukraine to fire American long-range missiles deep into Russia, though the Research Institute did not link the production increase to any current crisis. The Cub-M shelter is said to defend against a variety of threats, including shrapnel, debris and fires. It can even be deployed in Russia's vast northern permafrost, according to the State Institute. A standard unit can hold 54 people, but additional modules can be added. The war in Ukraine is entering what some officials say could be its final, most dangerous phase. Moscow's forces are advancing at their fastest pace since the early weeks of the conflict in 2022, while the West is seeking to shore up Ukraine. On Tuesday, Russian President Vladimir Putin issued a warning to the US, lowering the threshold for a nuclear strike. On Monday, the Kremlin called Washington's long-range missile decision reckless and said it would respond.
That was reported by Reuters overnight, that Russia has now started mass producing bomb shelters. Now, if you listen to it in the video there, Reuters is saying, no, it's not in response to any of the current world tensions. I'm not thinking that Putin's idea here to stimulate the Russian economy, where, just to give you an idea, interest rates on a mortgage right now are at 40%. I don't think his idea to make Russia great again is, hey, let's ramp up the bomb shelter business. Okay. While Reuters, leftist, may say it's not in response to this, it's in preparation for it. You don't just build tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of bomb shelters and get them put into place overnight. You have to have it done ahead of time. Now, anybody that's been to Russia ever knows what they built back during World War II. And their metro stations. We've all seen pictures of it. Tucker Carlson did the video on the Russian subway, the metro, and how beautiful it is. I've been there. I've seen it. Yes, it's clean. It's very nicely decorated. It's treated with very much respect by the people. Okay, but it was built for two reasons. One, to be the stations for the metro, and two, to be a bomb shelter during World War II. And the stations are enormous, okay? They don't look like the New York subway by any means. But where do you put nearly 200 million people, which is the population of Russia? Not everybody has a metro station nearby. Sure, the big cities do. But you get into the smaller towns and stuff, they need somewhere to go. Bomb shelters. Why would you be ramping up production of bomb shelters unless you expected something to happen? As I said, the Russian economy is not doing wonderfully right now, and they've got all sorts of excess money to just burn by building steel boxes. Sorry about my voice. This could be getting ready. They may plan on retaliating. That's something we have to pay attention to. We have to take it seriously. I will say this again, President Putin, the people of the United States do not want war. It's the neocons that do, that still haven't gotten out of their head that the Cold War ended 33 years ago, that Bill Clinton screwed everything up and didn't bring Russia in as an ally and instead pushed you into the arms of the Chinese. We don't want war. We are very happy to peacefully coexist on this planet. I'll say this, please don't attack us. Obviously, we would have to retaliate, and none of our hearts would be in it. We have to take this seriously. And over the last few years, I've talked about numerous different times about how to prepare a room in your house for any sort of nuclear catastrophe. I mean, obviously, if a missile hits right near you, it's nothing you're going to do. But if you're far enough away, how to stay away from fallout, where to get MOP suits, okay, NBC suits, nuclear, biological, chemical, about getting masks, we've talked about those, about having for lack of a better term, a safe room from something like that, how to seal windows, how to seal doors, making sure you have water, making sure whatever you've got somehow has a way to relieve yourself. Okay, you can't just lock yourself in a bedroom because eventually you're going to have to pee. Take this stuff seriously, guys. I'm not saying this is inevitable. I still think it's a minuscule chance of this going nuclear. But it's a sad day in history when we actually have to talk about nuclear war being on the horizon. This goes back to the 1960s, since we've really had a serious threat of this, back to the Cuban Missile Crisis. Sure, we could say tension was higher in the 70s or even in the 80s, but, Nikita Khrushchev, John Kennedy, Ronald Reagan, Mikhail Gorbachev, yeah, we could talk about those. This is where the United States is actually pushing Russia into a nuclear war. And it's all because we have a moron running this country. 60 days, January 20th, cannot come fast enough. Trump has already said he wants to end this war. I'm hoping that this is all a bluff game, that Putin knows in 60 days Trump's coming into office, and his ideas are the polar opposite of Joe Biden's, that he doesn't want war, he wants to end this war. And that Putin's just trying to play a game of chess right now, saying, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, otherwise I'm going to do this, and run out the clock until Donald Trump comes in and they sit down and go, congratulations, the war is over. Say a prayer. I'm not trying to scare anybody, just trying to tell you the reality of what's going on. It's going to be a long 2 months. But God help us if we ever elect somebody as dumb as Joe Biden again, who wants to go to nuclear war. He may be old and want to die and don't care, but I ain't there yet. My daughter's not there yet. Your kids, your grandkids aren't there yet. 2 weeks ago, we gave Donald Trump a mandate. The people said, we don't want anything to do with Democrat policies anymore. It gets to the point where you start going, should Inauguration Day be the day after the election? Because giving somebody as unstable as Joe Biden 2.5 months to wreak havoc on the world before he has to move out is extremely dangerous. And you and I are the ones that get to worry for the next 2 months. Pinball out.